Smiling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is your first time tuning in. Catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. And we come live every single week at Shrimp Tank Boca on our Instagram account. And now even the FEU College of Business LinkedIn account and their Facebook account. Joined by my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cox, and he attended Podfest Expo with us last week. So before we jump into our guests today to learn all about their backstory, Kevin, what was it like being at Podfest Expo?
Well, it was interesting. I'll give you that. There are some interesting people who have podcasts. It turns out there's a podcast for anything and everything you could ever imagine. And I got to co-host on AWOW and meet a lot of the crazy people doing all sorts of crazy pod things and support my co-host mainly. And I learned a couple things. Good experience.
I think they need to make a course to even be able to launch a podcast. And I think you should start that, right? Like way too many people get entry into the podcasting world that absolutely should not have a podcast. What do you think about this, Kevin?
Well, I think that's a great idea. The only problem is I don't know anything about how to start a podcast. I just know how to show up and host a podcast.
That is true. How do you like our booth, by the way? We're the first ones to put a live podcast on the expo floor and stream live. And I put that new table out that I've never demoed before. It's pretty unique, right?
Yeah, fantastic. Al sort of took over the Podfest. That was a crazy thing. So congratulations. Let's get to the guests.
Let's do it. Dean and Avi, welcome to the Shrimp Tank. Kick things off. Tell us about yourselves and your business. Go right into it. Who wants to start? Avi, go for it.
Let me start. 34 years ago, I had an idea. 34 years later, we're here to tell about the idea. That means something good came out of that idea. The idea was really something that was not really in use or recognized by many, which was wet wipes. And 34 years ago, believe it or not, wet wipes were a token product that were part of a concept called disposable diaper. And that concept included only baby wipes.
Was this when Dean was alive or pre-Dean? Right. We want to understand if Dean was a dirty little baby, I guess is where I'm going with
this. That's pre-Dean. But post two of his siblings, altogether there are four. So we tried two before and tried after, two after, and that was really the very beginning.
Kevin, you know a thing or two about wipes.
Well, more seriously, this is great, right? Because I just came from class and the students hopefully remember it's been 5 minutes what we were talking about, and they've all been tasked with coming up with a business idea. And I was talking to them about how oftentimes you're better off trying to solve a problem rather than invent something or develop some kind of technology. So, Avi, tell us more. How did you come up with the idea? They have to do this. Give them some tips and insights.
Solving a problem. That was it. That was exactly the concept. When I approached it and I looked at what was already in existence and developed, which were baby diapers and baby wipes, I thought, hey, we're going to be part of a growing older community, and the adult diapers will start kicking in. It was the very, very beginning. And you know what? Adult diapers need adult wipes because adult wipes are a little bit different than baby wipes. And that was the very, very, very beginning of the business. And I'll make one more point and note to it, which is sometimes the less you know, the better it is. Because if you know too much, you get too hesitant and too afraid to pursue a certain idea and a certain dream. So just go for it.
Well, they're not going to have that problem. They know way too much, in my experience, anyways. They do know some stuff, though. Very sharp students here. Dean, let me welcome you to the show. How
Thank you.
did
It's good to be
you
on.
get involved in this? Did you grow up just really passionate about wipes?
So I've got to tell you, growing up, I had no idea what that even meant. No, truly, all I knew is that this is in a time before the internet. There's all this talk about hustle culture now. Like it's nothing compared to pre-internet. What I remember from when I was a kid is that my father would take off, and for 3 weeks out of the month, he'd be elsewhere. No iPhones, no cell phones, pretty much. My mom would get a call maybe once
A day.
once a day. That was what you tried
Don't get me in trouble.
most of the time.
Uh-oh.
Once a day.
Uh-oh.
Right? But for me, it was actually kind of an enigma, and eventually, obviously, with the widespread integration of the internet and utilization of technologies, our business continued to develop. You can see it, by the way, right now. If you just open up your phones and search in Amazon, go into Amazon, look up blank wipes, you'll likely find whatever it is you're looking for. It used to not be like that. It used to be that wipes were just this commodity product for babies. No one thought about what they could possibly be, and that was it. Little did I know that my father was actually deeply involved in the introduction of new wipe concepts to the market. If I may, another interesting concept that he actually brought to market here in the U.S. was makeup remover wipes. It's one of the top 100 products on Amazon now. If you look, I think it's the Neutrogena brand is very, very popular. But even prior to the introduction of that SKU under their brand, my father actually brought in, he dove into the pool. He brought in a full container of the product. At the time, it was a really hard product to sell. Now it's so obvious. Yeah, of course you use makeup remover wipes. Why wasn't that already obvious? But the truth is that it takes time for the market to recognize something's value, its utility, and then to really implement it. So to keep a long story short, how I ended up in the business was very simple. I had finished a service in the Israeli Air Force. I decided I was going to go into education, specifically education and development. I did that for a while. It was rewarding, but I didn't find that it was what I wanted. And I went to travel, like all young lost people. And in the middle of my travels, actually, the pandemic broke out, and I had no place else to go. And I ended up being pushed by circumstance back to Florida at the age of 24.
Yeah, there are worse places to end up.
Oh, absolutely,
Back
absolutely.
home. He's back home.
Back home for the first time. It's right. I didn't expect to go from Malaysia to Boca Raton, Florida, but that happened, and for better or for worse, and definitely it was for better. To be quite frank, I can't sit on my hands too long. I had to go into something, so I came to my dad. I said, hey, I tried this thing. I was in education development. I'd like a job. I'd like to learn whatever this thing is that you're doing, whatever wet wipes is, whatever that means.
Okay, so let's jump into it. Running a family business is really difficult. So what's the hardest thing working with your father?
Wow. The hardest thing working with my father is myself. And I mean that in the sense that, listen, I mean, I assume most people here have family members of some sort. And as you know, with family relationships, there's usually a lot of baggage. And that's
He's
just
getting sweaty over here. He's like, what's he going to say about it?
Inevitability. You could have the best parents in the world, the best siblings in the world, and there'll still be baggage. That's just the nature of the beast. So when you find yourself in a dynamic like that, all of a sudden you have to reconcile with the fact that, oh my God, this relationship is not at all what I thought it was. And you have to really open yourself up to this sort of interdimensionality of what your relationship could become. And let me be honest with you, it wasn't easy, and it's still not easy, probably for either of us, I imagine. But with time, hopefully you learn how to live better with yourself, and in doing so, you learn how to handle your relationships with your family even better. It's really been quite a ride.
All right. Well, I got a bunch of great questions here, so I'm just going to cheat the rest of the way out of here. Once again, just like last week, students have come up with some really interesting questions, so I'm working from that. Avi, you were previously the director of the American Israel Business Foundation, and currently, while the headquarters are here, of course, in Boca Raton, Unico ITC has both factories, corporate offices based in Israel. How are the environments different between the U.S. and Israel in terms of operating your business? Are there different cultural aspects, different challenges, different approaches that you found to be more successful in one or the other?
Absolutely. Israel is very much different than the U.S. in terms of in terms of commitment, I would say, and stability of a workplace. Israel is a small place. Israel is an island that is actually surrounded by either sea or sharks. Israel had to look really outside in terms of a business, which means export. In Israel, our employees are on the average with us at least 25 years. So it shows you something. That's really stability. Because of the situation, we are always forced to be a creative, innovative, think outside of the box. And here you really get to hear about Israel, not in the high-tech business, but in the low-tech business, which is the same thing, is absolutely the same thing. A totally different culture, a totally different way of creating things, and that was really an advantage. Here in the US, it's a little bit different. I have experience in production in the US as well. It's a much more, I would say, controlled environment that doesn't let you really sometimes do things that you need to do as an entrepreneur.
Very cool. It says here, Dean, that you served in the Israeli Air Force, specializing in missile defense.
I did.
And now you've taken on the role of VP. I want to know, in which role did you have a tougher supervising officer, and why?
Wow, that's a great question. I'll tell you what, I was blessed enough to have some really excellent commanding officers in the military. I was also challenged with some others. Every dynamic is different. And because I would, at one point in my service, I would teach cadets, basic command and navigation skills and all these different kinds of things. I found myself with a different commanding officer every single, you'd call it like trimester. Every 4 months, my CO would change. And so what would happen is you'd have to reacclimate yourself every single time to a totally new dynamic. But not only that, but you also bring yourself and your own previous experience into that new relationship. So it's this like constant like switch of dynamic. When I entered the business, I had no idea what to expect. And the first your gut, your jerk reaction is to just relate to your business relationship exactly as you'd relate to your family relationship. And honestly, that doesn't work. And a lot of the times, parents can be difficult, but we can also be difficult, right? There's this sort of inability to see eye to eye. And that's just, I think, an inevitability of different generations, a generational gap. But at a certain point, my father is trying to tell me all these things. He's lecturing me all the time. I don't understand. Why is he always lecturing me? And then at some point you're like, oh, am I allowed to swear at all on here?
Sure.
Okay.
I call these clickable moments.
Yeah, sure. At one point, it was about 3 years ago. I was like, oh man, I'm being a jackass. Like I actually Like this is people hope for mentorship. People dream for some sort of mentorship. And here it is in my hands. I have access to this amazing industry, this creative tapestry that is wet wipes. And this person is telling me all the things that he knows. I have the freedom to agree or disagree.
Why did it click, I guess, that day? Did you fail a bunch of times? Like often we see in life failure, and then all of a sudden you click, you look back, you're like, oh my God, it was right in front of me the entire time. Like, what was it that occurred that it was that aha moment?
Well, this is a business podcast, not a philosophy podcast. So I'll try to keep it really, really pragmatic. But I think what happened is that gradually you start to see a lot of your parents and yourself, and they're like, oh, that's what they're talking about. And then you try your own way. Certain things work, certain things don't work. But one way or another, you have all of a sudden I realized, oh, he told me this. Why don't I implement this? And then you see one thing works, another thing works, another thing doesn't work. But all of a sudden you realize that there's a great deal of relevance, and that like nagging voice that we, kind of like, parents, whatever.
Okay. Well, I'm in a family business group that meets once a month, and this comes up all the time with fathers and sons relationships with the speed of the business, right? Often I see the father has been through a lot, ton of challenges, hiring, firing, and wants more of a lifestyle business. And then the younger generation comes up with social media and wants double-digit growth, right? And there's a war when people have those conversations. So I want to answer from both of you guys, like, where do you see this business going, and where do you see this business growing? And do you have that conflict with the vision of the brand, with the speed of the growth? Because obviously when you go fast, more things break. There's more issues with employees. So I just want to hear from both of you.
Well, and maybe that you could start with just how big is the business today, and then, roles, expansion, future. Tell us a little bit more about the business. We heard about the history, the foundation, and I can see a lot's changed. What is it?
When you say size of business, you mean what?
Whatever you think gives a
Employees.
Good representation. Some people talk about revenue, employees, and you could use some other kind of metric that you'd be comfortable sharing on a live kind of stream, but just kind of an idea.
So when we filled out those forms, we wrote on that.
Yeah, Jason already knows. Yeah,
I got the answer right here. But
10 to 50 million. Okay. But I can tell you it's closer to 10 than to 50. So when you're talking about the speed, there's something very interesting. Actually, sometimes I feel that I'm more anxious than Dean in terms of growth.
Wow.
Which is very, very interesting. He is the one who's with the foot on the brakes, and I'm the one on the accelerator. I'm the one who's pushing forward, and I think it's a very natural thing because of the gap of generations here, okay? And obviously what I would like to see and see faster versus the way he sees it and the way the business grows. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say the other way around.
Well,
it's usually like 95% of the time.
Yeah, there's good reason for that, though.
Well, I'll guess. You can tell us what the real reason is. But what I was going to say is, I could see why that might happen. You've got to keep in mind, one of the things we know about Dean, we don't know how old he is. We know he's younger than 34, though. He's got quite a bit of time to get where they're going. Whereas Avi, you don't have quite as much as Dean. But Dean, you tell us the real reason.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it as short as possible because long-winded answers run in our genes. When I joined this business, it was very unexpected. It was sort of just the product of circumstance. The pandemic changed all of our lives. Many of us for the worse, some of us for the better, and most of us somewhere a combination of those two things. What happened was that my father at the time, none of the children were in the business. I was in Israel pursuing educational development and all this other stuff. And he went through a fundamental shift. And this is from my perspective, what I saw, happen within him is when I decided to join the business, he had no idea what my level of commitment was, if I'd even like it. Luckily I did. But once he started to realize that was the case, he had a fundamental shift in his in his longitudinal thinking, meaning he is older than me. He was thinking about, okay, how do I wind down this business? How do I sell this business to somebody else? How do I structure it so that we achieve maximum benefit when eventually I decide that I want to leave? And I imagine my dad will be in the business probably until he's 120 because he doesn't like the rest, and he'll want to continue as long as he possibly can. But the truth of the matter is that to explain that answer fully, we have to explain like what our business actually is. Okay, would you guys mind if I?
Yeah, share some more of the products, of course.
Okay.
Maybe before you started,
Sure.
just to understand that Dean was born when I was already in my early 40s. So now you get an idea in terms of generational gap here. Okay.
Correct.
So that's pretty much what it is.
Well said. Well said. So basically what we have in our business is we believe that to thrive in a business, you need to be with multiple buoys, meaning that you're never going to put all of your eggs in one basket. Even if you're working on one thing, you have to be able to diversify. If you're working with a seasonal product, for instance, and I'm sure you guys know all about that from your economics classes or whatever it is, business classes, if you're working with a seasonal product, you have to offset the other 3 seasons with maybe another seasonal product. So you're not, basically depending on 3 months of income and revenue an entire year, right? So what we have is actually, we ride the business cycles like any other business. We have two main components of our company. We have a world of wipes, which is contract manufacturing and private label, which we've been doing for many, many large brands here in the United States as well as abroad, right? And I think Avi may even have some examples of companies here. Many of the products we can't disclose because obviously there is a degree of, we protect our customers as well.
Do you want to explain real quick, just for the students
Sure, yeah.
listening, what private label means exactly?
Do you want to explain?
Yeah.
So there's 2 things. Private label is basically when there's a stock item and a company says, hey, I want my label on that, not yours, and I'll buy X quantity, or, you create a deal. Basically, that's what it is. If you go into the supermarket, you'll notice there's a Publix brand and then a branded item of whatever it is, cheese sticks. I don't know whatever it is. It's virtually exactly the same product. Oftentimes it's the same supplier. One of the biggest private label brands in the United States is Kirkland. They do it really, really well. To work with Costco, by the way, is a fantastic thing. They treat their suppliers very well, apparently. And then you have contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing is where a company comes to you and says, hey, this product doesn't exist. I want you to create it for me. Or maybe it does exist in a different format. I want you to customize it for me. And for that, you need to be already, vertically integrated or prime in the manufacturing itself. You need to be able to control the manufacturing process. You can't just sort of broker a deal. You have to be very active in doing so. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would that agree with y'all's definitions?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's one more aspect to it, which
Sure.
is a product development and an extension line to a company that has products, and now they would like to have a wet wipe version of that product, especially, let's say a company has liquids. They're in the cleaning business. Okay, now they need it in a form of a wet wipe. So that's basically I would say, a great deal of what I've been doing all my career, which is developing those products. And it's not easy. It looks easy, it sounds easy, but it's not easy. It's not just merging components, it's really working it out. And there are many aspects to it. The chemistry side of it, the components, the stability to make sure that they are okay for a long time. Obviously, the preservative side of it, not to grow mold, bacteria, etc. So it takes a lot to create a product.
Yeah, and this enables other brands then, right, to capitalize on their branding and expand their product line, right? So just taking a simple example, let's say Windex decides, hey, we're making this spray cleaner, everybody loves it, no streaks, whatever it is, we should just have wipes that people can pull out. They may not want to build a wipe production, do all the science, develop the expertise. They may just say, hey, can we get some Windex and a wipe that like won't smear stuff? You guys make it, put our logo on it, we'll all sell it, everything will be good. That's kind of how it works. That's why you see a lot of brand collaborations and big, strong brand names that enter into so many different other places, because you'll recognize the brand, you have a high likelihood of being attracted to the product, but they may not want to get into all the nuances of XYZ product.
Okay, I think it's time to bring some students on down. So just come and line up right here, and you're going to get to ask Tina Avi a question. So we'll wait for some students to come down. Kevin, is there any popped up in the chat right now online?
No, it's just some fun comments. I bet Tyler's got a question.
Come on down, Tyler. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
do
go.
it.
Don't be shy, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
I was gonna ask just more exposition on the manufacturing process. That was one thing I was really interested in, and wondering if there's more stuff you can expand upon that. Just any kind of main advice that you think would be pertinent to that. Just kind of wondering the general outlook of that.
Manufacturing. So manufacturing really, if we're looking at my career of 34 years in the industry, things have been changed from one end to the other. It was more labor intense. It was the development in terms of chemistry was not as much, okay? And over the years, things really improved on one hand, and on the other hand, the regulatory part of it became a big factor. Okay, so you have to really consider everything. But as far as manufacturing, if you take something of that nature, which it's a canister with wipes, you take it, and what you do those days, you used to basically perforate a roll. I don't know if I have to get too much into it, but just create a perfect, like a toilet paper roll, okay, with a certain tensile strength of the fabric of the non-woven, which is made of non-woven, basically, not woven, non-woven, okay, and then you wet it. And those days, they used to wet it almost manually, okay? They didn't need to make that many, and then things have been changed, and things evolved to technology that did it in a much faster pace, in a much better way, okay? And then packaging have been changed. And all of a sudden you saw the individually packed, you saw the flat packs, you see all kinds of things, okay? The business world does provide answer, because the business world will develop naturally. The entrepreneurial side of the business world will now provide the right machinery and technology in order to do it more and better, as long as there is an acceptance by the public of the concept and the product. And that's pretty much what happened. The industry was pretty sleepy. We came in with new concepts, and we were not able to really get into it. And then all of a sudden companies came like Clorox.
It's an old
And
canister.
they said, Clorox is a whole, it's a different ball game here. They come up, they say, we have a wipe, everything changes, because I attribute a lot in terms of the growth and the recognition of the industry to Clorox. So all of a sudden they come and they say, we are going to get into the wet wipes business. Okay, so when they come to you and they say, no, it's not like any other customer who says, I need 1,000, I need 5,000. They say, hey, I need 1 million. I need 2 million. whoa, now I have to scramble here and I have to see what to do and how to do. And basically, they even didn't take it into consideration because a, it was the first inception of the product, and then it was demand from all over, and the market in general, the industry was not even ready for it. Not the technology, not the components, not the raw material, not anything. So they jump on people like us and say, please help us supply. So this is probably the first Clorox in Canada that we did. First Clorox in Canada. And that's how it looked. Okay. And we put it from A to Z. Okay. And that's what we have. Okay. So that's pretty much the idea.
Thank
Great
you.
story.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Just a bigger picture to that. So the more you can cultivate expertise, and I've noticed this just in my professional life in general, the more you can cultivate expertise in something that's less common, the more valuable it becomes, because people tend to flock towards these like really flashy, like, oh, AI, this and that. And it's perfectly legitimate. It's very important that we have talented people, driving the engine of innovation in those sectors. But a lot of the time there are like really almost unnoticed or sort of half forgotten industries that do need talented people, do need innovators, do need entrepreneurs to continue driving those things forward. And I'll give you guys one example, and I'm sure you guys have all heard of Dude Wipes, right? Dude Wipes, right? It's honestly basically flushable. That's flushable wipes for guys. Why? What makes it different than a regular wipe? Branding, right? Wipes used to be wimpy, now they're not wimpy, right? Now guys can use wipes without being, embarrassed, or I don't know why they're discussing wipes, anyways. But one way or another, you're not embarrassed to carry that into the public restroom, for instance, right? At the end of the day, that was an extremely innovative approach towards wipes. They didn't even do anything new. Flushable wipes already existed. The fragrance itself, I think it was even an unscented product. But what they did is that they had a vision to jump into an industry and say, hey, y'all are doing it wrong. We can change it. We can create something that will be truly spectacular. And that is probably one of the best products that ever went on Shark Tank, I think.
Yeah, both great, fantastic stories. Let's get to the next question, and we'll have to keep these guests in line. They weren't kidding about the lengthy answers.
Yeah, sorry about
that. No, just kidding. Both
very
great
passionate
stories.
about wipes,
Both great stories.
My question is kind of just piggybacking off of that. So there's a lot of products and services that people sell. So what do you think is like the determining factor in a successful business?
Oh, there's a tough one. So if you could pick one thing that is really the be all end all determining factor of a successful business, what would it be?
Determination. Okay, that means you want to establish yourself. It's a long-term vision. It's not a short-term vision. That means you can be successful after trying one. You may fail. Keep on doing it. Improve it. Learn from it. You never fail, actually. You never fail. Because if something is not successful, okay, there's something to learn from it in order to make the next one successful. And the next one. And perseverance. Go through. Don't give up. Don't look, but straight focus your vision and your goal. Eventually you get to it.
I think that's a fantastic answer. That's what I've witnessed as well, working with the hundreds of startups I've worked with, is those that are really just determined and persistent. I can tell, hey, they're going to be successful. It may not be the thing they're working on right now that's some crazy idea, but like, I just know that they're going to figure it out because they're not going to quit. Go ahead.
No. Hi.
Hi.
So at the beginning, you were talking about that you identified the problem about the whys, but what was that point that you say, hey, this is a problem and I need to solve this and create a company?
No, once I recognized the need, and I realized that there is a need, there is going to be a need for it. I'll give you something more tangible. Dean mentioned the makeup removers. I was sitting here in Boca Raton thinking to myself, guys, we're trying all kinds of products. Everything makes sense. Nobody wants to touch it. Okay? It's ahead of its time because we're not Clorox. Remember, we're not Clorox. So, but I said to myself, women and makeup is really something that you cannot separate, right? In most cases. Makeup remover is the most, the simplest way in order to remove makeup from the face. Okay? I have an idea. I'm gonna do it. Okay, I created the first makeup remover in this country. And what in wipes?
Yeah, wipes.
In wipes, makeup remover wipes. We're talking wipes only. Okay. And I decided to change it from a pack of what you know as a baby wipe, that pack. Let's do it a little bit different. Okay, so we'll have to, and that's to your question as far as manufacturing, let's do it in a different way. And instead of folding it one and one, let's do one more fold on top. It's called cross fold, and we'll make a small pack instead of a big pack. Okay, and really we did it. In Europe, it was already a product that showed good signs. I said, oh, that's the market here. Let's go for it. I really brought 2 containers, one with one brand, the other one with another brand. One is meant for the professional market. The other one is meant for the retail market. Nobody wanted to look at it. And nobody wanted to look at it.
To clarify, this was under your own
under
brand,
my own brand. I mean, what's my own brand?
So what was the utility in having a control brand as well as providing contract manufacturing and private label? Why do both as we currently do? And if you guys can see all the stuff on the table, these are our in-house brands. What was the utility at the time?
No, so basically, I was spotted by a company that at the time was one of the biggest brands in makeup remover and creams, etc., called Pond. And Pond thought that it's a great idea, except they decided to pursue it with somebody else, but that's a different story. But long story short, they created the concept. Okay, they created the concept or continued the concept that became now really one of the most popular concepts overall on Amazon, the way Dean mentioned. Okay, so that's pretty much the idea, how it works in terms of a concept. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah. So show of hands, how many people in here use makeup removal wipes? All right. Well, there you go.
You're not raising your hand, Kevin. What's going on?
No, I just
Come on. I know you do.
It is what it is. I
You like
I
those-
wear the same
You
makeup
like those
every
dude
day. I
wipes.
just leave
I
it
know.
on.
I know.
Yeah.
You got sucked into the dude wipe market. But
No,
Kevin,
no, but actually makeup remover, or maybe people, the male version doesn't like to call it makeup remover, so he'll call it a washcloth or face cleaning, etc. But it's very popular today. It's being used, and it makes sense.
All right, one more quick thing today. We'll try to have some fun. So you guys
Let's
are a
do it.
local company, a successful local Boca company. Are you looking to hire anyone right now, like an intern and a part-time, full-time? Are you guys doing any hiring now or in the near future?
So
It's a great.
you're welcome to.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll
Go
just start one thing and then you'll continue, because I just want to mention something. Actually, it has to do with Dean. When Dean joined us, it's not that I had any particular job description. I did not. And by the way, it applies to almost every employee in our business, unless it's an accountant or an attorney or something of that nature. But basically, the job description is not written the way you expect it to be written. That's pretty much it. So, in essence, we are always looking for people.
Love it.
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, Kevin, let's get some students on here.
Yeah. Dean, were you going to
Dean.
add something?
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to just touch very briefly on what the heck these products are here. Most contract manufacturing companies typically focus on contract manufacturing. It's what they're good at, and they're terrible at marketing. Okay, usually they're horrible at marketing. They're very pragmatic. We produce products. This is what we know how to do. They might have some control brands as references, or to entertain various opportunities. But most of the time, that's not their MO. Our company, what we've been able to do, which is very unique in the market, is we run 6 brands currently underneath our umbrella, including this one, the newest one, Eris Tactical. These are a brand new firearm cleaning product. It's spectacular. It solves a problem that honestly many people have not been able to solve, which is that it doesn't matter, if you're civilian, police, military, nobody likes to clean a firearm. Firearms, whether you agree with it or not politically, it's not the point. The point is that they're a part of society in one shape or another. And the truth is that not maintaining a firearm is a problem for safety as well as efficacy, and you're not going to be as accurate. So what we did is we said, hey, there are existing products, but every single product has some sort of caveat. Why can't we go and create a product that's really, really effective? And then we found ourselves with an amazing product, but then you have the flip side, which is now marketing. How do you go out there and sell a product that's typically not within the skill set of most contract manufacturing companies? What we've had to do over the last few years is actually we've seen growth, thank God, on our contract manufacturing private label, but actually the primary driver of our growth has been within our 6 brands. We also have a brand called Wipex here, which is multifaceted, multiple categories with these big rolls of gym wipes. We focus a lot on sustainability. Why sustainability? Because the market wants sustainability. We answer people's questions. There are ways to make wet wipes in a fashion that's a lot more in line with the environment. You don't have to be constantly polluting with plastic products when you can actually opt for a completely, let's call it, compostable cellulose fiber. There are ways to do the products. There are ways to do the products wrong and ways to do the products right. And that's already an issue of expertise. But actually, our team is growing on the marketing side.
I was waiting. Is he ever going to land the plane?
go.
We were talking about hiring. I don't know. We got
There you
all the
go.
product lines. That sounds like Dean's pretty good at marketing. He got in 4 commercials and then finally brought it down for a nice landing.
Sure, yeah.
All right. So they're always hiring. They're always growing. Well, you're in luck today,
Phenomenal.
because I know some students who right now are currently looking for jobs. And what I'm going to invite 1 or 2 of them to do right now, live on air, is come down to Jason's microphone and pitch you on why you might want to hire them.
Wow, no pressure.
I mean, if they'll do it.
It's 30 seconds.
I know so many of them raised their hand. They were looking for a job. Give them your pitch.
Now I understand
He's super
why
nice, I
it's
promise.
now I understand why it's shrimp tank.
Why should
Oh.
Now sell yourself. Sell yourself. Come on.
We have an opportunity. Anyone.
Here we go.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay.
I love this guy's shirt, by the way.
Hi, my name is Quavion, and I'm specializing in photography and videography right now. And I'm really looking for an internship in marketing and just digital marketing in general. And I'm looking at your brand. I'm seeing that there's many situations where people could use these kind of things. Right now I'm working in retail, and I touch so much money in people's hands. And I'm thinking, we could use many commercials or situations where people could, use these kind of products, or you could sell these kind of products to companies so that retail workers could wipe their hands often and be more cleanly and safe.
What would be your strongest asset as a team member, your strongest attribute to the team at World of Wipes?
I would say just my creative aspect in videography and creating commercials and ideas that could promote your kind of brands to people who would most likely need these kind of products in general.
Well, gentlemen,
Good deal. Good deal. We're gonna talk to him. You're gonna come to us.
Guys, look at his shirt. Stay
we're gonna-
trashy.
Yeah.
He won right away based on the shirt. It
You-
aligns with the
we
brand.
are-
Come on.
It's
You're gonna
bold,
come.
just like our
we're gonna
products. There
we're
you go.
gonna talk. We're gonna talk to you. We always have a need for it. We're always engaged in it.
Sure.
Dean controls a whole team of people dealing with all those uh, all the subjects that you mentioned. Obviously, there is an aspect of sales too. You touched one. There are some other aspects of sales, but if that's your strength, definitely we'll talk to you.
All right, there we
Okay,
go.
we got
You got to
one.
follow
We
up.
got
and
one.
get this
Yeah.
one done. This will be the first live hire if you can follow through. Anybody else?
Anybody else?
They might need multiple roles.
Going once.
Oh,
Going
we'll keep
twice.
doing this
Oh,
segment.
here we go.
Oh,
Here we go. We got
finally.
one more.
All right. My name is Lana Ekagori. I am a business management major with a concentration in entrepreneurship. So I'm always open to learning more about the business atmosphere. I'm currently really interested in the restaurant business, but I do know that to even get to something as busy, I do need experience managing a company as big as yours. So I'm always interested in spending my experience in that. I have a lot of experience in customer service and just small entrepreneurial sales. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So, if I may,
Sure.
So, I could tell you that in the professional world, believe it or not, people skills are really in short supply at this point. I don't know what happened in the market, but people seem to be a lot less adept at handling customer service inquiries. So, if that's something that you feel that you're really good at, and to be a good customer service, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into just customer service. I heard what you're actually striving for, but to touch upon that, which is an immediate need that you could satisfy for any company, it's sort of a foot in the door, especially into a small company where you can integrate. I mean, that's sky's the limit, really. You have to know the company really well. You have to understand the business. You have to understand the products and the entire framework in order to be a good customer service. It's not just about answering the phone and being nice to people. Those are a dime a dozen. There are very few people who really understand what they are selling and what they are servicing and the customers themselves and how to relate to them. So if that's something that you can do not only in our industry, but in the restaurant industry or anywhere you go, it's a phenomenal practice.
Yeah, and thank you for getting up there today. Jason, the show's over. People got to leave. Anything else to add?
I think we're good. This is a great episode here on the Shrimp Tank. If you want to tune in next week, it's Wednesday at 1:00. Come and join at Shrimp Tank Boca on socials. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.